kind of a loop, but it doesn't go as far as he wants, and I was talking to Kristen, and I think,
All right, you ready, Bill?
I'm not sure we can do anything, but we're gonna talk about it, because I thought it was a good idea too.
Yeah, I think the bigger concept sounds reasonable.
I do
Like,
too.
just kind of,
Just gotta figure out if it works.
which I don't know if we do now.
All right.
It's not gonna be
If you guys are ready, let's go ahead and
a good point to it.
get going. We'll call this meeting to order. Start with a roll call.
Fillet,
Here.
Homer,
Here?
Rebo,
Here.
Dorrington,
Here?
Bush,
Here.
Layton,
Here.
Walsh, Riggs,
Here.
Almquist,
Here.
Hodges,
Here.
Sherwood.
Yep.
Is on here.
All right, any amendments to this agenda? That was first on, okay. So we have minutes to approve. Minutes from September 9th, 2025.
I move to approve minutes from September 9th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of September 9th, 2025. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, unscheduled citizens. Is there anybody here to speak to anything that is not on the agenda? Okay.
Anyone online?
Um,
Okay.
unfinished business, no? New business? No. All right.
Business is the public.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna edit this next time. All right, let's go ahead and open the public hearing, that being the major impact review and recommendation on proposed South Arc major subdivision.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Kristen Hodges, Associate Planner. I'm here to present the recommendation on the proposed South Arc Neighborhood Major Subdivision, Phase 1. So a little bit of general information. This is a major subdivision, which is processed under a major impact review. So we have our public hearing tonight here at Planning Commission. We'll also have a City Council public hearing on October 7th. These were appropriately noticed. You guys may approve with conditions, deny, or remand the application, and the City of Salida is the owner and the applicant this evening. So a little bit of background on this project. In 2006, the Vanderveer Ranch Overall Development Plan, also called the ODP, was established, and that kind of encompasses this whole area in like the green bold outline, all of these what we see as VPAs, Vanderveer planned areas. And then in 2011, there were some general plan development modifications. They kind of elaborated a little bit on what these VPAs are, what they would allow. In 2019, there was a Confluent Park PD, and that's over on VPA number 5, over to the east side of the Vanderveer ODP. And in 2023, we had the South Arc Neighborhood PD and Master Plan process, and that's encompassing most of what we see in the red circle here. A little bit more background on the South Arc neighborhood. So part of the master plan process for the South Arc neighborhood was to kind of redefine these VPAs, which we saw on the previous screen, into what we called the South Arc neighborhood areas, or SAs. And this came because when we originally established the ODP, we weren't entirely sure what the future of this part of the plan development would look like. So as we got closer, there was a pretty robust public comment period for the master plan. Bill, I think, was a part of most of that. It came a little bit before my time. But if there's additional questions on that, we can ask Bill for help on that. But part of that process, we established what we called SA 1, 2, and 3 in this South Arc neighborhood area. So SA 1 is shown in the pink along the kind of southern edge, and that's for low to mid-density residential. SA 2 in the orange is mid to high-density residential, and then SA 3 is kind of this red burgundy color. That's for high-density residential, as well as some limited commercial uses, including public, institution, and recreational. And then the POS is parks and open space, so a lot of the area, particularly around the South Arc area, and up on that hillside towards the eastern portion of the site, is still reserved for parks and open space. And then one last thing I'll point out here is that this whole area is considered the South Arc neighborhood, but the portion of the property we're looking at tonight for major subdivision is in the lower left-hand corner, that black outlined area. So onto the next slide, we show the phase 1 area. That's again, this kind of same shape that we're seeing in that lower left-hand corner. This is the area in question for major subdivision tonight. So most of the lots are being subdivided into that kind of condensed area down there, and the rest of the lot will be kind of like a tract for now, and we'll talk about the future phases of that. All right, so the details of this request at hand tonight is this is the first phase to implement the South Arc Neighborhood Master Plan. We're looking at this about 12-acre portion, again in that lower left-hand corner. It's a total of 55 lots, 10 tracts for open space, drainage, and stormwater, and public streets. And then it's kind of hard to see, but you can, I noted on here anticipated phase 2, which is kind of the triangle off to kind of the right-hand side along the southern edge. And then anticipated phase 3 is just directly north of the subdivision we're talking about tonight. So I know it's really hard to see, but I would be remiss if I didn't include it in the presentation here. And if we could just go right to the next slide. What I did here is I kind of overlaid those South Arc areas, 1, 2, and 3, over the proposed subdivisions, so that we kind of see like how much are we tracking with the master plan. And pretty well, actually. So that pink area again is that low to mid density residential. Orange is mid to high. And then the burgundy red is the higher density residential and commercial use. So we're keeping pretty consistent with our original master plan here. Discussing some review standards. So the proposed subdivision is in keeping with these goals and works to implement the South Arc Neighborhood Master Plan, which goes hand in hand with a lot of the goals of the comprehensive plan. There's no construction specifically proposed as part of the subdivision as far as like individual lot development goes, but there's adequate space on all of the proposed lots in order to comply with the standards. The proposed lots and streets are logically arranged. The lots are identified for development to avoid the wetlands and riparian areas. As we saw in one of the earlier slides, those parks and open space kind of track along the South Arc area and on the hillsides, as well as the wetlands areas. I did have 2 agency review comments come in since the packet posting, and they were Visionary and Spectrum. They said there's no concerns, just wanted to state that for the record. And then another thing I wanted to point out is that Public Works, technically in the staff report, it said Public Works didn't provide a comment, but I want to be very clear, they have been very robustly involved in the process so far. So they've been involved in the subdivision design, making sure all the easements and roads are appropriately placed and like they're wide enough, the easements are all correct. And they've also been working with the engineer on some civil plans and have those out for bid. So part of the reason why we're trying to get this phase 1 through is so that they can start on some of that infrastructure work. Last thing I'll note is that the master plan lays out the inclusionary housing requirements, which are significantly more robust than our code requires. If you are unfamiliar with the South Arc master plan, it's roughly 50% affordable. So significantly more than our 1 in 6, which is typically required.
Kristen, could I ask a question?
Of course.
Of the 50%, is it not 25% income-based and 25% for community? Without income qualification?
No, it's actually, that's on top of the 50%.
The
So-
50% is income?
Correct,
Okay, and then on top of that, 20% is for the workforce,
25%.
but at market rate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill. So before we go to the recommended motion, I did want to point out one more thing. Tommy, if you could pull up that other PDF. So this is, I know it's kind of hard to read, but this is one of the pages from our infrastructure bid that David Lady has provided. And it kind of walks through some of the road layouts, and one of the things that we wanted to point out in response to a public comment that was received and that was distributed to you guys today. If you go to the next slide, talks about some of the pedestrian connectivity. So this is from the master plan, and the previous slide is pretty closely following this plan here. So the pedestrian paths are shown in pink, and the main kind of spine road, as we're calling it, CR 104, connecting down to CR 107, has a pedestrian path along that entire street. Mostly it's just going to be a sidewalk, so it's not gonna have this like, rural foresty vibe, but the intent is to make sure that pedestrians can still navigate through this park, this whole property, in both a fun way and an easy way. So,
I'll just add on to that too. In response to some of the public comment we got about trail connectivity and all, each of these roads that you see in the bold blue will have sidewalks on them. Some of them will be shared use trails, so minimum of 8 feet wide, some 10 feet wide. And additionally, which I don't believe it's shown very well on here, but the Stormwater Greenway that is planned for this area will also have a trail along it
Tommy, can you go to the
through
next slide?
through the development, so.
I don't know if we can zoom in at all here, but, Bill, I think, are you talking about this? Wait, where is it?
It's, if you go to the red building.
Yes.
It's immediately above that, and then it goes to the left and to the right of that, so, yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah, this
Stormwater
darker green
Greenway.
area here.
Yeah. That's an area that's anticipated to carry some of that outflow of precipitation that would be coming off of Methodist in the case that, we had a larger event. It would go through a channel there. And you can actually see on the left-hand side a trail sort of going along it.
So
This
that's,
like lighter line here.
All this to say, there is a lot of pedestrian trail.
so the drainage
network.
would be more like a swale or something with a walkway in the middle,
Yeah, or potentially on the upper edge.
on the upper edge? Okay,
We're not sure just yet.
somewhere around it. There
Yep.
would be not just the drainage, but there would be a trail there
Yeah.
too.
Kristen, does the main road connecting 104 and 107 follow the existing, I'll call it road, path, whatever that's there now?
Primarily. There's a little bit of a jog that it takes down in the southwestern corner there, but for the most part, it follows that all the way to where the purple building is, which is that civic/recreation building.
Yeah, Tommy, if you go back to the first slide of this,
And then there's a
this
realignment there.
one here, you can kind of see it overlaid to the, here's kind of this, woo. This, if you want to just, full page, it might be easier to see that way.
Yeah.
Sorry, lots of PDF navigating.
Oh, other way, other way. Okay.
Yeah, you can,
Oh. Touchy, touchy.
There you go. Let's stop.
okay, we're good. You can kind of see it follows this like lighter line pretty well over here, and I think that's the road you're talking about, but
Yes.
So the hillside has the, what is it, the disc golf on it, and how is that accessed?
So there will be, at the curve in South Arc Drive, more or less where they're, down below at the southern portion. Oh, yep, right about there.
Okay,
There's actually some connections more or less there right now.
so
That will
that
be
existing
probably-
trail will remain?
Yes,
more or less,
yes.
right.
There will be a need to adjust 1 to 2 of the holes, the disc golf holes in that region. I think hole number 4, if I'm not mistaken, or 6, one of the two of those. 4.
So that,
4 says Tommy.
so that trail you will connect at the bend, but will it also, it looks like it connects over to both sides as well? So someone
Yeah,
could in
you'll-
fact walk that whole trail out to
Yep.
County Road 104.
Right, nothing's affected over on the east side of the development at all, so all the connection points that are current will remain. I think there'll be another adjustment to hole number, I believe it's 1, that starts near the green gate, when the road gets built out, all the way to that area, so they'll have to adjust the hole a
Yeah,
little bit.
but it'll be
It's pretty
accessible.
minimal, though.
Yeah, that's good.
Yep. And then just so you know, that the southernmost lots there, where there's a bunch of townhomes, those are kind of built slightly into the hillside or anticipated to be built slightly into the hillside. There is the trail to the various holes, disc golf holes above that, and those are not impacted.
So we are tonight being asked to approve both Phase 1 from a building standpoint and the infrastructure.
It's really just phase 1, the major subdivision. The infrastructure of phase, like within phase 1 can move forward once this subdivision is approved.
So you won't be doing South Arc Drive beyond where it's necessary to do Phase 1.
Correct. The utilities
Yeah.
will be placed in that area, and there'll be, surface treatment, for access purposes and everything
Yeah.
else. But the intention is not to build out the road itself, and finish that work as part of Phase 1
So the other 2 phases will come back before us at some point?
Oh, yeah.
of the subdivision, yes.
Right.
Yep.
What about what's the timing of the park build out?
Well, as you know, I mean, the park is going to be pretty untouched in most ways, with the exception of the fields, the multi-use fields that are anticipated out there. There's not a specific timing to it because there's no funding just yet attached for build out of that. As an aside, there is a restoration project going on in parallel to this, that some of you may be aware of along the South Arc stretch. And you'll be hearing more about that at a work session that's planned for November, that hopefully will be able to dovetail with this infrastructure project, looking at that stretch of the South Arc. It's actually 1.5 mile stretch of the South Arc, but it takes up the entirety of the city-owned portion. So yeah, there's not, I mean, and part of that project though will be additional public outreach opportunities for folks to weigh in on elements there within the park, trails and other amenities. A little bit TBD.
And all of this is being done under the existing land use code.
Or no?
No,
This phase 1
just this
is-
phase.
Yeah.
This phase is correct.
The
And
future phases will be under the new code.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. And the PD will still control for a lot of the portions of it, lot sizes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But the process may change a little bit.
Righto.
I have a question. So is there a master plan per se on the just trails? Because we've approved lots of things in the course of this commission, and I saw that nice map with the lines and everything. Is that codified anywhere, or is that just kind of it right now?
It's codified as part of the master plan of the PD modification that was done a couple of years ago, to that extent. But given that it's an overall development plan, so it's higher level, it's not getting down to the nitty-gritties of the civil construction
Sure.
data. But that's something that Public Works and Parks and Recreation are working on, incorporating this information into all the rest of the trails data that they have, if that's what you're asking
Were
about.
you asking about a citywide master plan or just for this?
I mean, ultimately, sure, but I guess this is a big project, and I guess it's just like the phase 1 of the development. It's ultimately got to dovetail into phase 2, 3, or whatever, whether it's housing or trails. And I guess it's kind of, you got to take a word for it.
Well, there is a master plan for the trails for the city. I mean, I don't know how current it is, but
Yeah, I'm not sure this is in it,
Yeah.
yeah, this is
maybe.
aside
It
because
would,
this is.
yeah, it would need to be updated with these trails, but
Right.
generally It'll be updated once they're built,
Yeah.
really. Yeah. But most of the trails in here are gonna be located on public property, you know, within the open space areas or within the right-of-way. So to that effect, that those connections are created, this becomes that master plan, if you will.
And is there a connection between this, I think I'm remembering something about that, and the neighborhood on the other side of 50? The Confluence Park?
Oh,
or
yeah,
Two
there's-
Rivers South, or whatever the
there's
name of
a-
that one is?
There is a desire to be able to connect pedestrians underneath the highway.
It
Right?
exists today.
It does. It's not
Yeah.
up to code for, you know, pedestrian connection, but yes, there is actually a way to get through there. It's only
I've
about 6 feet
Used it
tall.
many times.
Would CDOT do a flashy light there, if that's the case, to put us
Actually,
up to code?
more likely, they would actually build the highway up in
Okay.
a way that you could have an underpass for
Okay.
pedestrian
And have
traffic.
we had conversations with them? about
We've
that?
had conversations with them, and obviously it's funding dependent because
Sure.
that's not a cheap thing to do.
Yeah, I know, I just wondered, because I remembered hearing about that at one point.
Okay,
Yes.
Kristen, before we get any further in questions, were you done? We
I was
kind of
done.
interrupted you.
No.
And we've
we
gone
were
on a
done
couple of
with
different
presentation.
tangents, so
Going off the rails
I want to make
again.
sure you're all set
Yes.
before we continue.
Yes,
Okay,
now is a perfect
Is there
time for
anybody with
questions.
public
Okay.
comment, maybe?
Yeah, I
I
think
did
if
want to
we-
ask one thing of Bill. There's some talk about a signal, a future signal somewhere over there. Can you speak to
Yeah,
that at all?
it would need to,
Signal,
so
okay.
only when it gets warranted. So in other words, once traffic numbers rise or are anticipated to rise to that within a very short time, would CDOT require that a signal be put in at CR 104? It is anticipated at some point it will need to be done. In all likelihood, this neighborhood will not trigger that warrant, however. It won't be until other properties further to the east fully develop out that would be warranted. They have numbers that they have to hit, thresholds they hit before it's required.
Do they do that for the timing of lights too? Like, would they change the timing of the light on 107? Seems like
They
traffic
could,
already
yes.
backs up on 107.
Yes, yep, and we actually are in contact with CDOT about that.
all right, I'm sure we can get into questions during discussion, but if somebody has a pressing question, otherwise I would get on to public comment.
Question for staff? the
For
applicant?
staff, yeah.
Wha- I'm curious, why did you choose to do it in 3 phases?
Money, primarily.
Sure.
Yeah, it comes down to really the cost of the infrastructure and being able to amass the money to be able to put in the infrastructure so that we can attempt to create the level of affordability that we're going for.
And you have grants to cover the infrastructure?
Most of it,
Mostly.
yeah. We will see, we're actually right now in the midst of the bid, and we will find out what those bids come back at to determine whether or not there's a shortfall. You know,
But you have some grants already received.
Yeah, we
And
have-
Maybe, is
we
that
have-
why we're trying to do this now and
Yes,
push it forward?
that is part of
To
it.
use the money before the deadline?
Yeah, so we have $4 million in grants from the state for the utilities and the roads. We have commitments of up to $1 million each from CMC and from the county to help with the infrastructure out here, and then some of our own housing funds. If those, if the cost of phase 1 infrastructure ends up being any higher than that, it's likely going to necessitate discussion of sale of some of the properties out here to developers in order to pay for that net difference.
Which we've anticipated
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Yep. So there has not yet been a decision made on how this is going to be developed.
No, we're actually looking at potentially bringing on an owner's representative to help with that overall strategy on it. I mean, there's been a lot of thought about it, but there's a lot of moving parts, especially when the costs continue to escalate.
Okay,
Do we have anyone
Oh,
to
we-
speak?
I think with that, we'll go ahead and open, is there anybody signed up?
There is.
you. Craig? Schumann? Schickman?
I'm here to advocate on behalf of the disc golf course. I'm from Heart of the Rockies Disc Golf, and we put in hundreds of hours out there making this thing happen. Just, I guess, a couple questions. You mentioned that number one may have to move, and I guess I'm having trouble picturing that because it looks like if that road kind of stays where the dirt road is now, it wouldn't be impacted unless that's gonna like kind of shift to the south at all, so.
Yeah, I was trying to imagine where the actual pad for that one was, and I felt, without looking at real close, I thought that there may be a chance for it,
Okay.
but not 100% sure on that one.
Okay, so, but the plan is probably to keep the road kind of where it is now, like
Yeah,
following that
it's
dirt road?
possible that it, as you can see there, that it will shift a little bit to the east, sort of closer towards the hill. And then, as you know, there's a wash that comes through, and they're working right now on the specific plans on how the drainage is going to work in that location. So I don't really know how that specific hole is impacted in this case.
Okay.
The bigger impacts are down on the southern portion in the flats of those 4 packs and townhomes in the southwest corner.
Yeah, so it does look like where the road curves, is that gonna be kind of pushed up toward that hill, like further south from where the road is right now, where the dirt road is now?
Yeah, the bigger impacts are the lots to the south of there. The road's not going to impact the disc golf course at all. It's the lots that are planned for it to the south.
Because where that's being circled right now, looks like that's more to the west of where, if the little T-pads are accurate on there, on that map, then all the houses that are gonna be built on the south side of that road look like they're beyond the disc golf course, so it probably won't impact it. But the road, if it kind of moves further south from where it is now, would definitely encroach on number 4, which, not that big of a deal to change that one hole if that's all that there is. But I guess we're just trying to figure out.
Yeah, this is the first time I've actually seen this particular image, so we'd have to really kind of study what's visible from it as far as the individual pads and whatnot. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think it's fairly minor impact
Yeah,
on the course.
definitely.
But we can look a little closer to determine
Okay.
what those impacts would be.
And then I guess my last question would be, right now we park outside the gate, we have that little parking area. And if the road just continues through there, is there gonna be any parking that will be built there, kind of where we have our first tee? Or what would the city want us to do for parking?
Yeah, I think we'll have to work a little bit with Parks and Rec on that as an interim plan. Again, it's the areas to the east are not gonna be fully built out in the first phase. And so I think working with Public Works and Parks and Rec to determine where that parking would best be located in the interim is gonna be a good idea.
But like paved road will be a part of phase 1, right?
No. Nope. The utilities will be going in and it will be paved to a location a little bit to be determined, to be honest, based off of costs. But it's not anticipated to go all the way to CR 104 as of just yet. Not as part of the first phase, but in future phases. It's possible it just may be a dirt road, frankly, with or without access. I think a little bit to be determined at this point.
And then the rest of that road kind of going all the way through, is that basically just going to follow the dirt road as it is right now? It's not going to be pushed, like there's that little ditch that's kind of just, south of the dirt road where it goes kind of along where we have our fairways for number 2 and 3. And it would stay there because it looks like it from this, but it's kind of hard to tell.
I don't know, can you point on
You can
the map,
take
'cause
the
I'm-
mic with you too, if you want
Yeah.
to talk to us while you point.
So, yeah, like these trees right here, that looks like where our number 3 green is right in here. And so this is all of our fairway for number 2 and 3. And, you can see the current dirt road right here. So it looks like the road tracks there, but I can't tell which lines are which here, if it's pushed, because the dirt road goes there, and then just south of it, there's a little ditch. And then our fairway is that little open grassy area right there. So I guess it's a question of if it's just gonna stay along that same road line, or if it's gonna be moved further to the south.
I think kind of what you're seeing is easements and water, sewer and water, and I would assume that the road is pretty much gonna be as is. That's how I see it.
Yeah, it's pretty much in the same location as it is currently today until you get to that point where they diverge, and you can see that V right there. I can't say for certain how that lines up with that particular fairway, but we could, reach out to the Public Works Director to determine if there are any impacts on that particular fairway. Yeah, sorry, I don't know exactly where it is on the ground.
Yeah.
In that location. I did look in the other locations, though, to get a better sense of what might be impacted.
It does look pretty minor right now, so
Yeah.
we like that.
I was wondering if I could piggyback real quick on the definition of the low density.
Could you give
Would
your name
you,
and
can you
address, please?
come up and then
You
state,
can move
tell
them.
Just
us your
name, just
name, move
name.
that down. and-
Yeah, now you got it.
Hello,
And
I'm
tell-
Jenny Majeski. And I'm just wondering about the definition of low density to medium to high density housing, because I believe it was mentioned towards the east or western, southern point there that it was low density. What does that mean?
So a lot of these lots they vary from smaller single-family lots that could be down to somewhere in the 2,500 square foot range for a single-family, whether attached or detached. And I believe it's SA.
Could you put that other map up
3.
while you're
Yeah,
talking?
could you
That might
actually
help.
Bring it back.
Yeah.
Colors,
Thank you.
not quite.
Even go back to the essays. If
Yeah,
you
the
could.
essays, right. Woo. Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah, that's good.
So this is only the phase 1 of the subdivision, but the homes in the purple, so the lots in the purple down below, the ones off to the west on the left-hand side, those are single-family homes, for instance, and those are probably amongst the larger lots for single-family, and then all the rest of them are townhomes anticipated, attached, like four at a time down the line, and then there's a 3-plex at the end, to give you a sense. The ones then, the lots on the western side in the yellow, those are a mix of single-family homes attached and detached between the lots. So you can basically anticipate in most of those 1 unit per lot. But then the larger lots there in the yellow or the purple, if you will, are anticipated for multifamily, and those will vary between 4-unit apartment complexes to the most that's anticipated at this moment are the CMC lots that the area in the purple is anticipated to be conveyed to Colorado Mountain College, and they have a model for 2 24-unit apartment complexes there. And then they have space to build a mixed-use building if they so desire, which might have housing above it and then small-scale commercial on the ground floor. So it varies quite a bit throughout the development depending on the location. But in general, the areas to the west and to the north are lower density, probably the equivalent of our current medium density R2. And then these areas where I'm talking about with the apartments, which are further off to the east and south, those are more the equivalent of our R3, our current R3 zoning with the apartments and all.
And those would be more than just single level buildings. They could be 2 and 3 stories high.
Yes, our code does allow, even single family currently, all around town does allow for 35 feet or up to 35 feet, and that's what's built into this plan development. And I can't recall if it went any higher.
It does go to, one of the phases, it goes to 40 feet.
Up to 40 feet, potentially, yeah. And that'd be for the multifamily units.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
We have somebody else that might want to talk.
Jerry?
Sure. Jerry Mallet, 6573 Ridge Road. I live right close. Are you gonna bring the utilities in from 104 or 107?
None of the utilities are being brought in from either of those. The utilities are being brought in from Highway 50. So water is gonna be brought in from the area between the Pharisee Boys and Hampton Inn,
By the
where
bridge.
that pedestrian bridge and trail is. Water's gonna come down from there, extend all the way to the residential portion in the southwest.
Right.
Then that water needs to loop back and is going to loop to Palmer Street. We have a right-of-way there that comes to the south of Highway 50. And so it'll eventually have to loop into that system there for pressurization purposes. Sewer is going to run from the neighborhood area through the Spine Road, which is, and we'll call it CR 104 for right now.
Right.
All the way down and across Highway 50 to the east.
Okay.
And it will link into Confluent Park and Two Rivers over there. There's going to be an enormous trench that's going to be dug in the vicinity of where the green gates are there at CR 104.
Right.
In order to levelize the lines, the sewer line there, because it's considerably lower on both sides of that area, going down to Highway 50 and then going down to into the Vanderveer area.
I assume traffic can also go down 107?
Yes, for sure.
Is there any consideration of widening that for a trail?
There's a lot of constraints with ownership. It's a fairly narrow right-of-way at the moment. It's in county jurisdiction. The PD modification does have a timing requirement on it that once a certain amount of homes are built out in the neighborhood, then the city will take over maintenance of the road, but it's gonna remain in county hands for the time being. And we will not be able to really expand anything there until we're able to acquire, additional right-of-way along CR 107. There's also a ditch that comes into play along CR 107, so it limits what can be done.
Where's the ditch?
It's on the east side of CR 107, in
Okay.
front of all those properties there.
Okay, but it could go on the west side, going up the right side as you head up the mountain. There's no ditch there, is there?
No, no. There's one that comes across from west to east in the vicinity of the Spine Road intersection. But no, there's not one going north-south along CR 107 on the west side. It's just on the east side.
Well, we do see a lot of traffic on that. During the COVID, it was phenomenal. I mean,
Yeah.
city council had your best tax break or taxes during that period, I believe. Whatever it is. But those were my two questions. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jerry.
Is there anyone online?
Nope.
Okay, go ahead and close public comment and move to discussion.
I have one more question for staff, if it's appropriate. I'm mostly just curious on the the south side neighborhood. It's a major subdivision. How are you dealing with the lot frontage with all the lots facing green space? It seems like that's a concept that's being utilized throughout the neighborhood.
Tommy, can you go back to the plat? The one with the color or not?
I got you, yeah. Is that what you're after?
Yes, so we did process an insubstantial modification to the South Arc Master Plan Neighborhood PD, which allows this street type that runs here is called street type D in the master plan. And that can act as a public or private, do you remember which it was? Essentially, it can act as a street for the purposes of lot frontage.
Yeah. And those specifically will end up being private streets right there. Or at least that's anticipated. And what you can't quite tell is between the, each of the 8 unit sets are private open spaces. So they back up onto an open space, each of them.
Who controls the cost of maintenance of those things if they're private?
It's anticipated that it will be borne by the developer and/or an HOA that gets created.
I mean, I like the concept, I didn't know how that was possible in our current code.
In a PD, yeah.
In the PD?
Is that what is meant by, under the lots and blocks, the comment is, generally complies with? And I wondered what you meant by generally complies with.
What were you referencing to, Gail?
That's a very broad question.
The details of, or the,
I believe it was when it's going on with the issues that needed to be complied with.
so things like zone district standards, improvements, natural features, a lot of that stuff is not decided yet because we don't have development plans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess it's
There you go.
after that.
Because we don't have construction as a part of this subdivision, but the
Lots and
plat, the
plots,
major
right,
subdivision
yeah.
plat is drawn in such a way that each lot could comply with the development standards.
And GIF is referring to page 11 of the report, just in case
Oh, okay.
everyone's
Yeah,
looking.
it's lots and blocks pattern. Blocks generally should,
And then the comment is, the first phase of South Arc neighborhood major subdivision keeps with the master plan and generally complies with these standards.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, meaning basically, like, that was what was shown in the master plan, that was approved, the PD modification. The insubstantial modification that Kristen mentioned, referenced, was to just clarify that what was intended all along, that these units, and actually some others in phase 2 and 3, could take access from the private street and face out onto these common open
Yeah,
spaces.
Yeah, okay.
And we have more or less codified that in the new land use code with the creation of the cottage housing use, where you would be able to access the homes via an alley or a private street or a public right-of-way.
Isn't that kind of the same as the 505 Oak, where they have the townhomes, they have a road going through, townhomes on one side, apartments on the other? Similar?
Not quite, because that actually has, I mean, that's a private street and it doesn't face onto a common open space per se.
Those lots do
These are,
still
these
front
are
on the
frankly
street.
really good examples of
So do
cottage
these
housing.
lots actually face the open space or face the road?
A lot of them are gonna face onto the open space.
Okay.
So you'll access it via like a garage perhaps
And then go
off of the alley.
around?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's certainly nicer than,
Yeah, sure, it's great. Some of the ones over in the new Two Rivers are that way. Not really, they face a street, but they have access through the back, through a garage.
If you recall, the recent Angel View plan
Mhm.
development, there were some cottage housing built
Yeah.
into that as well.
No, I have no objection. My only concern going in, and I think we've talked about it, is the comment about the connectivity and being able to loop around. And as long as there's an ability for someone to do a big loop around, I'm satisfied with that. I thought it was a really good comment, and I appreciated the positive nature of it and the desire to make it better. So,
Yep.
if there's anything that we can do to enhance that as the plan develops, I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah, agreed. Mr. Mallett's point about CR 107 and a potential trail or something there, I think would be great. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
right now, a lot
yeah,
of
it
constraints.
really, I mean, when I've accessed Vanderveer, sometimes I walk on 107, it's horrible. Yeah, it's not a good thing
But you
to
said there'd be
do.
a sidewalk there on
There's no
107.
room.
No?
Not until we
County,
have
so, yeah.
not until we have the right of way for it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
There are places where it goes down to 30 feet, I believe, of
Yeah.
right-of-way on CR 107, which is barely enough to get 2 lanes in there.
So-
It's-
Do you
it-
think,
in
I
the
mean,
ditch.
could that road be striped or like kind of delineated to kind of keep a higher traffic use in line? I mean, there's also a lot of bikers there, a lot of access up the hill for other recreation.
Yeah, I
The
don't,
biggest
I
problem
mean,
is when the trucks go.
Possibly.
Yeah, and then there's the, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of
Although,
truck
yeah.
traffic,
Right.
for sure.
They're probably more used to it. I think sometimes you get a lot of
Yeah,
people flying up that road
yeah,
that maybe
don't pay
assume
attention.
they're in the country
Right.
pretty quick.
I think the hope in the interim is that people will utilize the trail system through here
Through the neighborhood.
to get from CR 108, to the river, for instance. We know that not everybody's going to do that, and they're kind of taking their life in their own hands.
Right.
But we will definitely be working with the county to try to make sure that as many safety improvements are provided as they can as this builds out. But it will remain in their hands until, I believe it's 100 units is the threshold need to be built out before the city ends up taking over maintenance.
Right. But even
100
then,
units in South Arc?
in that
Correct.
sector. But even then, it wouldn't affect the width of the road.
What we can do, no, not until the other surrounding property owners come in, through an annexation and dedicate additional right-of-way
Right,
or other means.
good.
Okay. Anybody else?
Anybody else? Ready to make a motion?
I'm ready to hear one.
Can I start this? What's the anticipated number of units for this? You said it's like 55 lots, but.
For this phase?
Yeah, but what's the number? Of
Yeah,
units?
it really depends on how big the multifamily ends up.
range.
But it could be anywhere between about 150 and 200 units at the max.
So we'd hit that 100
Yeah.
with this first phase.
In all likelihood, once
It's
it's fully
built
built out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Aaron. Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend city council approval of the South Arc Neighborhood Major Subdivision Phase 1 as proposed, as it meets the applicable review standards for a subdivision and is in conformance with the Vanderveer Ranch overall plan development as amended and the South Arc Neighborhood and Vanderveer Regional Park Master Plan.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second to recommend to City Council the approval of the South Arc Neighborhood Major Subdivision, Phase 1. Any further discussion?
Who was the second? Sorry.
Kenny?
I think
Kenny.
that's one.
Thank you. Fillet,
Yes.
Omer,
Yes?
Kriebel,
Yes,
Durinson,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Layton.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. Any updates?
Yes, we got a big day coming up on October 7th. So there is a joint work session that evening. We'll be discussing a
And that's
proposed
at 5
development.
o'clock, you said?
At 5 PM, yep. The
Yeah.
day before is a holiday, so we're moving all the meetings to the next day. Work session at 5 PM. Then this subdivision will be heard, because it's a resolution, so there'll be a hearing on that. The annexation and zoning that you already saw for the 2-acre lot that's immediately north of this area is going to be heard as part of first reading. And last, but certainly not least, is the public hearing on the land use code. And so it's a big night, and if you're coming and you don't want to watch, maybe bring comfortable clothing and pillow.
Snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Snacks.
Just as a reminder, we currently have it set for a effective date of the new land use code towards the end of December. And we are continuing to work on everything on the back end, so administrative manual, land use applications, website, et cetera, to have that ready to go by the time the new land use code becomes effective.
so are we or are we not having a moratorium between those
No.
two dates? No.
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 No. So in all likelihood, you may end up seeing some items in 2026 that are based off of the existing code, as well as some items that are based off of the new code.
And is there anticipation that we will have a regular meeting on October 27th?
There, as of right now, we don't have anything scheduled for that date, nor the work session date. In fact, so the work session date is off the table.
Work session on the.
In October.
On the 14th.
Yeah, I forget the date of
Second
that one.
Tuesday.
Wait,
but we do have one on the 7th, right?
Yeah,
We
that's.
do
a
have
joint.
one on the 7th.
Joint.
Yeah.
Put that in my
We have a joint work session with council, but we do not have a planning commission only work session.
On the-
Given we've had like 2 meetings a month for the last like 4 months, I think
Right.
y'all need a break.
Right. Yeah, so the 14th, our regular planning commission work session will not happen, and it's doubtful that the 27th will happen.
There's nothing yet that is in, that we would see there, but we'll verify that in the next week.
Okay, well, for the record, I will be out of town on the 27th. I may be able to hook in online if there is any.
I can delete the 14th, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Delete the 14th.
And also, on the 7th, our portion would be the work session
From
portion.
5 to 6?
Correct. And then the council meeting
And then it's council after
happens.
that.
Then we
at
leave.
6.
Just lights on. and
Yep.
Then we go.
Entertainment value only.
All right.
From 6.
I will be out of
Comment as a
town on
citizen.
that date, on the 7th as
Okay.
well.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Other than that, we've got the APA conference coming up in October. Few of you are signed up to go. If anything changes, please let me know. A couple of us from staff are going to that. And Nina, do you have anything that you want to mention?
No, other than I think we're due for another workshop, so we'll do that soon, a legal workshop, now that you guys are going through you've gone through the land use code rewrite, just a good reminder. I think it's helpful and nice seeing you all in person.
Yeah, and just, we're gonna hold off on doing the advertising for another position, planning commission member position, until after the election, just for convenience and other purposes, so. But we'll have a new member at some point, probably at the end of the year.
Great.
When is my term up?
2029.
You're in a hurry? No. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
I think it's
off the
up
top
in
of my head.
January. I will not be re-upping.
I know it's 2026, okay.
Okay, I will not be re-upping.
Okay, do you anticipate doing it through January at least then?
Possibly.
Okay, all right, good to know. Sorry to hear, good to know.
Yeah.
We will miss you.
We will squeeze whatever juice
Just
we
make
can
sure
out of you between now and
that
then.
you get another Red Sox fan to take Damn Yankees.
What's the deal with, what is it, 5L, that people want to get an election to change the zone?
5H.
5H,
Yep, latest on 5H. I did hear today that the requisite number of signatures have been identified. And so the steps are that it will go to council on the 21st as an ordinance where council gets to choose whether or not they repeal the R3 zoning or they send it to the voters to determine if it should be repealed.
It's just for the zoning.
Just for the zoning, so it would be a special election, probably to happen sometime in either December or January,
If they don't repeal it.
if they do not repeal it, correct?
So I have a question on that. What happens to the annexation if the zoning is changed either by council or by referendum? Because listening to the last meeting, I heard 2 different theories about that.
I can answer.
Thank you.
So the annexation agreement that the council approved at the last meeting says that the annexation won't be effective until the few steps have gone through, which was the ordinance for the annexation and the ordinance for the zoning. And that particular ordinance for annexation ordinance, the ordinance for zoning. So in other words, the annexation ordinance and the ordinance for zoning need to be effectuated, which if they are repealed or voted down by the voters, then the annexation is not effective.
Okay, so that would mean then that the 72 units or whatever is either off the table or re-agreed, that the zoning in place would allow someone to do whatever it was by right if they don't decide to put forward another plan.
So if the zoning ordinance
They'd
is.
have to re-annex?
Yeah, the annexation is,
Right.
is not affected, yes.
Okay.
They would have to re-annex, and then
Okay.
they had to renegotiate everything.
Right, okay, that's what I was
But that depends on
hearing.
what council's gonna do, and that's gonna be in front of council on October 21st. And they could either repeal the ordinance right there,
Can they modify to R2?
I believe so, or they could send it to the ballot, so.
So if they modified it to R2, would the annexation hold?
Yes.
Oh, good question. No, that ordinance it would be a different ordinance, so then we would have to renegotiate the agreement, probably. I have to look, it's just the agreement.
Just the agreement, yeah,
Just the
current
zoning?
agreement that was approved last week
Right,
would be nullified,
Because it
but a new
references
one.
ordinances 14 and 15.
Right.
And this could all be kind of short-circuited if the developer and the neighbors came to an agreement, presumably? And
No,
like-
not anymore. So that's an interesting question. We've been talking about it. Well, interesting if you're a legal nerd like me, but, the holder of that petition are all the people who signed it. It's not just the person who submitted it. So unlike another, type of petition, like if you're running for office, you take it back. This is not the case. Once they submitted it and once it's, enough signatures have been signed, have been approved, which Bill just said that city clerk has said, it's too late. So.
so if it goes to the referendum and the referendum, or the city council agrees to make the change, then all bets are off. It goes back to either re-annexation or the whole thing falls apart and nothing happens. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay, I'll have to ask Nina about something then. But,
And that's because there's an annexation agreement in place, so, it's important that there was that annexation agreement in place, because it's like all these parts, they're connected, right?
Well, so I'm still not really clear then what you said. The annexation agreement is in place. So
Right, but it
if-
says the annexation is only effective.
Tied to the
If these two ordinances are
are tied
effective.
together. So they can't change the ordinance. They can't amend the ordinance to a different zone.
It would be a different ordinance.
Okay, so that would negate the annexation, so therefore the land would not have become annexed and it would start completely over. Is that correct?
Well, we'll have to work through
I'd like to know the answer. I'm just curious. There's a lot of conversation about it.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
I have to, my council probably thinks that they could just change, I have to think about that, if they could amend the ordinance.
I mean, if they could amend the ordinance, then the annexation agreement, would hold, only with a different zoning, which changes the whole plan. And I think that what I was
Right.
hearing was that the developer and the Mountain Mail both said that all bets are off if the zoning changes.
Right, so, yeah, well, I'll have a clear answer on the 21st.
Okay, we'll be watching.
So I guess the other question for us
Yeah.
would be, is if there's a chance that something would come back to us, as far as our involvement in
Yeah.
public discussion,
Yeah.
that's just what I want to be clear, like what we
Right.
should be or not be discussing.
and one thing.
At all.
Nina maybe can correct me if I'm wrong with this, but I do understand from Jeff that if it is repealed and they do need to apply a new zoning to it, it actually goes directly to council.
Right to council.
Doesn't
Yeah.
come to
That
us.
is my understanding. So it would not, at least at that point, have to come back to this body. That said, I think better safe than sorry, and,
Because if they re-annex, it might, but that might be a whole different board. Yeah, it's better, it's better not to say a lot that is in public that shows that you're prejudging if something's gonna come back in front of you. Because there's that chance that if they re-annex, right, that process will.
I mean, I think we've made our opinions
Made
pretty
our
clear,
opinion. I think
made our,
we made our
made our
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah,
But I'm just curious, yeah.
Well, whatever would come back before us would be something new. So it would be a whole new.
correct.
Whole new issue. It would
Correct.
have no bearing on what we did before. We would be
Correct.
starting completely over with a new judicial process.
And just so you know, I represent a lot of communities, as does my firm, and we do not get these many referenda and these types of questions. Thank you, Salida, for keeping us on our toes.
Is there something different in those other communities?
yeah, it's the water.
Yeah.
I'm usually asked the other way.
Right,
I'll tell you after the meeting.
right, what's going on? Does staff have anything else for us?
Nope,
I know Tommy's got something on his mind.
yeah.
Well, I moved
Tommy's
to,
going on a little trip soon, so he's,
nice.
he's just thinking about that.
well, with that said, I moved to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Who
right.
seconded, sorry? Who seconded?
did.
Okay.
Give it to Dan.
Thank you.
You get points for the second.